train to the Plastic Underground. Approaching the station, please stand away from the platform edge. Alright, so starting off this painting of this 3D print here. Obviously, the things you guys don't see is all of the prep work that it takes to get to this point. It's a lot of sanding and filling and patching and that kind of stuff. So it's pretty boring, very time consuming, but it's necessary in my opinion. So I bought this little stand thing off of Amazon for like pretty cheap. I think it was like $9, and it comes with these sticks and clamps, and then you can stick them in those holes. So I'm just going through with my airbrush and painting a lot of stuff black. Pretty much anything that's going to be black, I paint black. Anything that's going to be like a metallic, like the Millennium Puzzle, I paint black. This is just some basic watered down black acrylic paint. And then I go through and I start painting a few things white. You can't really tell the difference on camera from that gray to this white, but it does change it. All the skin tones I also paint white, basically to give skin tone like a good white primer essentially. And then the inside of his jacket is also white. I also go through and paint his pants the same thing and give it a nice white primer so that the blue looks pretty good on there. Using this all-clad glossifier. No, Plastidip is glossifier. This is all-clad like gloss sealer. So I thought, hey, this is a good idea. I'll just go through and I'll just paint all these black parts glossy just to make them look nice. It did work. I think the all-clad sealer that I have is intended more for like metallics and stuff. I know I've used it before on top of all-clad chrome, so it did work. It's not like super high gloss, but yeah, no, it did work. And then you saw there I used the silly putty technique where I went through and I masked everything with silly putty. So then after that I can just go through and paint on top of it, and then you peel the silly putty off without masking everything off, and it works out pretty good. This is the first time though, honestly, that I had a little bit of issues with it. I don't know if it just like stuck to I don't know if it stuck to the gloss sealer more, or if I did it too soon or whatever, but when it came time to peel it off, I did have a little bit of issue getting it off, which is the first time that's ever happened to me. So, but then yeah, I just kind of go through and I'm just painting everything. To do like skin tones, I'm just using like a just basically like a light peach color. And then I can start gluing some stuff together. So I start by gluing his belt onto his pants. And then I put his shoes in. And then his other belt just kind of slides over. And you glue his little card pouch on there. Then I go through and I paint all of his armbands black. A little bit of gloss black for his armbands. Yeah, so then I can glue his torso on, and then I can glue his dual disc to his forearm. I'm going to pop his hand into place here. And then I can peel off the silly putty, and you can see here that I kind of have a little bit of trouble getting it off. Usually it just kind of peels right off. This did not, and I also had a couple spots where it peeled up the paint on the bottom. So the only thing different than I've done before is that this was sealed with that all-clad sealer. And yeah, that's the only really difference. Although I did it on the face too, and I had problems with that too. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to get some new silly putty. Maybe it's just a little old and full of junk. So I thought you could just keep using it, but maybe not. Next thing I do is I kind of go around and I start painting everything silver. So his belt buckles, his studs on everything. He's got studs on his shoes. He's got silver bands on his armbands. And the dual disc was pretty fun to paint. I went through and mixed up this light blue, added this to all the card slots on here. So that was pretty fun. You can also see that I took it off the arm to paint this. I have a bad habit of gluing and assembling stuff before I should. I guess I'm just always in such a rush to like get it together to see like how it looks, and then I go to try to paint like small details on it, and it's like too hard because of how I glued everything together already. So yeah, so don't do that. Yeah, this center part here gets a little bit of red. So this was the same red that I used for his hair. Yeah, and then the task of going in and painting these little triangles was pretty fun. And then this ends up like not like overly mattering later on because of something else that I did, but that's all right. Yeah, now I'm just going through with a little bit of gold, painting the Millennium Puzzle gold. Well, actually, first I paint the chain silver because the chain is silver and the puzzle is gold. So that's the other thing too that's important is looking at like reference images and stuff. If I was painting this based on like what I thought was right, I would have painted that whole chain and puzzle gold because that's just like how my brain remembers it, but it's not. So I always have like references for stuff that I'm painting just to make sure that I'm on the right track. Like, obviously, your colors are not always going to be 100% accurate, but that doesn't really necessarily matter as much as colors being in the right spot and not painting things how you remember them being. Also, for his hair, references were really important, and also like actual statues and like figures of Yu-Gi-Oh were important when it came to paint this because I kind of had no idea like where to paint the black parts of his hair because in a 2D image it's like, oh yeah, he's got like yellow in the front and then a few black spikes and then the rest are red spikes, but in 3 dimensions it's all kind of the same, and you're kind of, you know, trying to figure out like where the black parts of his hair should start and end. So it's important to look at an actual model when you're doing that. But yeah, so now I paint the Millennium Puzzle gold. Add a little bit of gold to these studs on this bracelet. This is the deck of cards that go in the dual disc. So I painted them brown, and then I'm going through with a little bit of light tan just to paint the edges. I think these came out pretty good for being such a small little rectangle. You can kind of look at it and know like, oh yeah, that's a deck of cards. So then back to gluing the dual disc to his arm. Now that everything's painted, especially the dual disc itself and his bracelet underneath, which would have been hard and kind of stupid to paint that when it was all glued together. And then I just add a little bit of glue there and slide the card deck into place. Then I can pop that whole arm into place. I glue his other arm into place. Yeah, and then now I go through with some black and I'm doing the rest of his hair. I did the black on his hair last because it was a lot easier to do it then, and then you can kind of define where the hair meets the skin and also like get a good clean line between the red and black and fix up any like mistakes or oversprays or any of that kind of stuff. The next thing I did is I did the eyes. On like human models, I hate painting eyes. But the nice thing about these like anime style eyes is that they're just big squares, big rectangles basically. So I painted them white. Also, the file always helps because it has all that stuff sculpted into it, so I'm pretty much just following the eyebrows with some black paint. And then he also kind of has like eyeliner on, so you can kind of just go around the entire eye with black just to kind of define that shape, which also kind of it helps in a way that you can, even if you have like the white part a little too wonky, you can kind of force shape it like with this black paint now to like really define that shape. It's just a lot of really slow, small brush strokes, and not having too much paint on your brush is important. Yeah, so then I just grab a little bit of purple just to paint like his actual like iris. I mix a little bit of that purple with some white just to give a lighter shade of purple and just add some highlights into his eyes. Yeah, so then I glue his cape. Well, it's not his cape. It's his jacket. So So I glue his jacket on, which is cool to kind of see everything kind of come together. Then I add a little bit of glue to his chain, and I throw his Millennium puzzle on there. And then we can glue his head in place. Jojo. Get in here. Yeah, so one extra thing I wanted to do for this is I wanted to give him some cards. So I printed out these grouping of cards here, pretty small. And I'm just adding some clear tape on top to give them a little bit of a sheen. And then I can kind of pick and choose which ones I like. Yeah, so then I just kind of go through and I pick and choose which cards I want to cut out with just these pair of scissors. And I kind of pick out a couple of iconic ones that Yu-Gi-Oh! Uses. And yeah, there's only one of them I painted the back on because he's going to be holding it. So I just quickly painted the back. Same way I painted the full deck that I slid into the dual disc. So I just added a little bit of glue to his finger there, and I'm just kind of sticking this card in place, kind of where it looks good, so you can kind of still see the artwork on the card. And then I glue a couple of these to the dual disc. Some of them I glue sideways into, defense mode. Some not, but yeah. I think this was a pretty good choice. I think this kind of helps sell the overall look. Actually having a couple cards on there, I thought that was pretty fun. So then the next thing I needed to do is make a base for him. And after researching a bunch of stuff, the file that I got, it comes with like an Egyptian base, and I didn't really want to use that. I'm not big on printing bases. Is the thing. I think I've only ever printed one base, and I think that was for like my Mandalorian statue. I don't like printed bases. They're too big. They take up a lot of resin, and it's just like I can make a base pretty quick and easy. So that's usually what I choose to do. So I'm just using this pink insulation foam. You've seen me use this a ton of times. I use this for all my Pokemon bases. So I just kind of cut out a rectangle, scored in some grooves for like tile marks, and then kind of cut out the bottom part of the base just to kind of give it like this two layer look. So it kind of looks like a step or like an overhang. Thought that looked kind of good. Yeah, I couldn't really decide. I tried to look to see like what the flooring looks like at like Seto Kaiba's dual area, and I think it's just basically white tile It's kind of boring. So I guess this is kind of like old concrete or old stone, that kind of look. I think that kind of matches that kind of aesthetic of like, I think it's like season 2 when they're at the Pegasus's mansion, that kind of thing. That's kind of what I was going for, was just kind of some old block basic thing. So yeah, just kind of I picked that like a dark gray, and after that's dry, I just give it a quick light gray dry brush on top just to bring out some of the texture. You also saw me use that foil. It's just a piece of tin foil crumpled up into a ball, and I use that just to kind of bash in the sides and rub it on top, just so it picks up some of that texture, stony texture, that kind of stuff. Yeah, you can just dry brush it and it brings out all that texture. So it was pretty good. I cut out these little grooves here. This is where the pegs on his feet are. So I kind of put him in place, pushed him down to kind of transfer the mark of where those needed to be. And then I just kind of cut them out quickly with a razor knife. So I'm using some of this Bob Smith's Super Plus. This is safe for foam. This will not melt foam. So I'm just using that, putting that on those pegs, and stick him in place to where he will stand forever. So yeah, that is it, you guys. I really enjoy painting statues and 3D prints and that kind of stuff. It's one of those things that I enjoy doing in the winter, because I can kind of just do it upstairs at my little paint desk, and I have a lot of fun doing it. So I hope you guys enjoy seeing me paint and how some of these things come together. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week when we make something cool.